Okay, so we're picking up on page 378 of Sri Sharda Devi and her divine play, a look at the incarnation of God as mother in the life of Sharada Devi, the first disciple of Ramakrishna. And we're on page 378, the chapter called At Belur Math with Disciples. And if there's anyone along that doesn't know, Belur is the name of a suburb of Calcutta, and Mat is the Indian word for, or maybe Sanskrit word for monastery. And so I guess we use Mat because it's significantly easier to write than monastery. All right, so page 378 near the bottom. Now let's see that's where I have it. All right, so they're at Durga Puja. It's the 16th of October, and they're just arriving. And it starts, the little house at Sonar Bagan, now the Legate House on the north side of the monastery, was prepared for the mother's stay. Holy Mother and Radhu stayed in the southernmost room, and Yogan Ma, Golap Ma, Lakshmi, and Aunt Bhanu stayed in the other rooms. On the day of the Ashtami Puja, which was the 18th of October, Holy Mother sat on her cot facing the west, and 300 devotees bowed down to her one after another as she blessed them. On that day, she initiated 3 or 4 people. That night, from the second floor veranda of the Mat building, she watched Girish's play. I guess it's Jana. It's just Jana. Is that it? Girish's play Jana, based on the story from the Mahabharata. At noon on the day of the Navami Puja, Golap Ma said to Swami Sharadananda, "The mother is highly pleased with your loving care and sends you all of her blessings." "Is that so?" replied the Swami in a serious voice, and said to Premananda, "Brother, did you hear that?" The 2 Swamis embraced each other joyously. Oh my God, that's so beautiful that they how meaningful Mother's blessing was to them, how meaningful it was to them to be thanked by the Divine Mother, that they actually embrace each other joyously. How to have that kind of simplicity, that kind of simple heart, that kind of relationship with the divine. After the Dashami Puja, the image of Durga was taken in a boat to be immersed in the Ganges. Dr. Kanjilal danced, gesticulated, and made faces at the image like a child, evoking roars of laughter. However, a brahmachari protested this behavior. The mother and her companions were watching the immersion ceremony from their cottage when a monk drew the mother's attention to the brahmachari's objections. She replied, No, this is fine and proper. The goddess should be entertained with song and music, fun and frolic." There you have it. There you have it. Break free. How many of you have been too serious in your shrines? Have you entertained Thakur lately? Some of you, I suspect, have done quite a bit of it. But some, I would encourage you to break some rules. Vivekananda says you should break 1 rule every day, to keep the mind from being brittle, from preventing yourself to thinking that this life is about rules. It's about freedom, about beautiful principles, and your relationship with the divine. Your shrine, your very own shrine, is that as well. And that the living deity is there in front of you as you look through that image at them. So be free. Mother's just given you permission to be an entertainer, to be a frolicker, a spiritual frolicker. At night, there was another musical performance. Ramashwamedh, it's a long word. Ramashwamedhayagna, The Horse Sacrifice by Ramachandra, based on a story in the Ramayana by Ahibushan Bhattacharya. The mother and her companions watched it. The next day, the 22nd of October, 1912, Holy Mother returned to her Calcutta residence. During the Durga Puja in 1960, Holy Mother came again to Belur and stayed in the same cottage at Sonar Bagan. She arrived on the 3rd of October for the Saptami Puja and stayed until the 6th of October. After attending the first day of the worship, news came that Radhu was sick. Swami Dhirananda gave this news to Premananda and asked him to request Holy Mother to stay until the last day of the worship. Premananda replied, "My goodness, who is going to stop the Divine Mother? Whatever she wishes, that will happen. We are helpless to do anything against her will." However, Radhu soon felt better and the mother decided not to return to Calcutta. Look at that faith, though, of Premananda, that acceptance. Whatever Mother wills is what's going to happen. It's just ours to accept it, to deal with it. And really, that's how we live in this moment also. You know, whatever Mother brings to us, we accept. It's non-resistance, because the moment is always perfect, right? God is everywhere present and always perfect. And so it's really an exercise in acceptance in this moment, to find contentment in your being in this moment, no matter what the circumstance or condition. And in practicing that, it's very, very, very helpful, because this moment is very rarely perfect for a body, right? And so that's going to force you to wonder, how is this moment perfect? It's 110 degrees outside, right? Or it very rarely is the moment perfect for the mind. And so you're going to have to work with that and figure out, how is this perfect, this situation, this moment? Because that will lead you toward your reality, to your divine nature, because the moment is always perfect for the self. That's why all desires arise from either body or mind, but never from the self, from the observer, the witness. The witness needs nothing and observes only balance. It's quite a beautiful ideal that can take you a long way. On the day of the Ashtami Puja, the mother attended the worship in the pandal. On her way, she saw the monks and brahmacharins preparing vegetables to feed people. She said with a smile, "The children know how to cut vegetables very well." The mother's disciple, Swami Jagadananda, replied, "Our aim is to please the Divine Mother of the universe, whether through spiritual practices or cutting vegetables or turning spices into paste." The mother replied with a smile, "You are indeed right, my son." On that day, many people bowed down to the mother, touching her feet. She later washed her feet with Ganges water several times. Yogan Ma noticed this and asked, "What are you doing, mother? You will get a cold." The mother replied, What shall I say, Yogan? I feel a soothing sensation when one person touches my feet, but another person's touch produces a burning sensation all over my body. It is hard for me to get any relief without washing my feet. After the Sandhi Puja, a special worship between the Ashtami and Navami Pujas, Sharadananda gave a gold coin to a brahmachari and asked him to offer it at the mother's feet. The brahmachari thought that the offering was meant for Mother Durga, so he asked about it. The Swami replied, "You will find the mother in the house of the garden next door. It is she who has received our worship through the image of Durga." Right? So this is just an example of that. This is an opportunity too for me to share something interesting that Vivekananda says that really I learned a lot from. He said, when you worship the image and stop at the image, so you're worshiping the image itself, he says that that's karma producing, and that if you do that, that your reward is a heaven. You know, your reward is going to one of these lokas, the loka of your highest ideal, the heaven of your highest ideal. And you'll only be there as long as that karma holds out, and then you come back to this world. He says, but if you worship through the image, if you look at the image as a window to God behind it, he says that worship brings moksha, brings freedom, brings liberation. And so that's the way to worship the divine, to attain freedom, to lose your bonds in this world, is to see them as a window, just like Thakur says, the way that we are to look at an incarnation. He says, an incarnation is a hole through which God can be seen. So an incarnation is not a personality or a set of traits or a place in history. An incarnation is an absence. It's an absence of any egoism or particularization. It's a demonstration of universal love in really the best way that can be done, while the deity manifests as a particular, but in every other way has to transcend that particularization, that perspective.
Maharaj, can you clarify that? Sorry, it's when Swamiji is saying look through it. I mean, when you're saying look through it, are you thinking of when you looked at the photo that you see the living image of Mother or Thakur, or are you saying that it would be an unmanifested God that you see beyond the image? Like what clarification?
Just a moment. I'm going to say yes to both. Yes, if it's helpful to look through the image and see the living deity behind it, that I think would lead to in the same direction. And if you wanted to look even through that manifestation at the unmanifest, or at the universal divine, the Brahman, the undifferentiated, you could do that also. I don't think it could mean that exclusively, because that's, how do you do that?
Right.
How do you do that? And so I would say looking through to the living God behind, even if it's the same form as the image. Just don't stop at the image. Don't at that coded ideal. Look through to the living ideal, and I think looking through at the living ideal will lead you then to the unmanifest. I don't know that there's a way to look through it and actually, unless you do what everybody does when they think of God without form. create a set of invisible attributes.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The master, or the Swami, replied, "You will find the mother in the house of the garden next door. It is she who has received our worship through the image of Durga." In a letter dated the 9th of October, 1916, Swami Shivananda described Durga Puja at Belur Math. The presence of Holy Mother made the worship come alive. Though it rained constantly during the 3 days of the worship, everything went off smoothly through her grace. The rain stopped whenever the devotees sat for their meals. We were all surprised. We learned later from Yogan Ma that just at the time of meals, Holy Mother prayed, "Oh Mother, how will the devotees eat their meals in this rain? The leaf plates will be washed away. Oh Mother, please save this situation." Really, her prayers were answered on all 3 days. Holy Mother's disciple, Swami Girijananda, recalled, "The mother, Golap Ma, Radhu, and other women devotees were staying at the Sonar Bagan house. I had a desire to worship the mother's feet all 3 days of the Durga Puja with flowers and bell leaves. After bathing, I would go to the mother's room and offer flowers at her feet. One morning, the mother came to bow down to Mother Durga in the pandal. She was seated on the upper southern veranda of the shrine building, and Golap Ma was with her. As I was offering flowers and bell leaves at the mother's feet, Golap Ma said in a loud voice, 'Don't put bell leaves at the mother's feet.' I said, 'The master worshipped the mother with flowers and bell leaves, so why shouldn't I?' The mother smiled. I joyfully worshipped the mother." Again and again. just this freedom of the divine. It's just, don't be afraid. That's the bottom line. Don't be afraid. Follow your heart in your worship. And if you have the inner permission, to offer something, then offer it. If you think something is edgy, describe it to the master and say, is this all right? And lay your heart open to the master. And if it's clear in there, and do it. Absolutely. It's, again, this spiritual life, it's important to know it's about principle. It's not about rules, right? It's about love, and anything done with love is beautiful. Will come out all right. We see again and again in the scriptures, look at Thakur, he worshiped the cat, offered the food to the cat in the shrine instead of to the deity, and then climbed up on the shrine and actually climbed up into, Kali's arms. I mean, there was no limit to his expression of love to the divine. And twice now in a row, we've gotten this kind of permission from Mother, not to be focused about the nitty gritty. Now, that's not license, the love is what's the important thing, though. That's what they're teaching us. It's not that you can do anything you want. It's that you can do anything from love. That's what makes it beautiful. Anything out of devotion can be offered to the Mother. And so to really free yourself, show your respect, the way that you show your respect is by respecting. There doesn't have to be a particular thing or a particular symbol or a particular action of it. The way that you respect your guru, do what they say. The way that you respect the Mother is bow at her feet, love her, follow her inspiration, follow her life, follow her teachings, and go forward in a free way, with fearlessness, so that you don't have to feel like, Mother's constantly watching your every move. She's just concerned that you stay honest, that you stay earnest, that you stay sincere as you manifest Satchitananda, as you manifest your divine nature within. Holy Mother's disciple, Brahmachari Haripada, later Swami Pranavananda, was the worshipper for Durga Puja in 1916. He reminisced, on the morning of the Saptami Puja, the Mother's carriage entered the monastery. Yogin Ma, Golap Ma, Sudhira, and others were with her. The entrance gate and the worship pandal were well decorated with flowers and leaves. Swami Premananda welcomed the Mother, and the sound of the conch, the bell, the drum, and the flute reverberated throughout the monastery, along with the shouts, "Victory to Mother!" When the Mother arrived near the steps of the shrine, Swami Atmananda waved a lamp with 5 wicks in front of her, and Premananda waved a fan. The Mother went upstairs to the shrine and then came down after a short while. She entered the puja pandal and sat on a carpet reserved for her. I offered flowers at her feet 3 times, and she blessed me, touching my head. Then, when the Saptami Puja was over, the Mother asked me to repeat the flower offering mantra for her and her women companions. I distinctly remember she uttered this verse of the Chandi in her melodious voice. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Shiva Chama Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute. O Goddess, you are always victorious, all auspicious, the destroyer of evil, the embodiment of gentleness, and adorned with skulls, in parentheses, letters of the alphabet. O Mother Durga, you are the consort of Shiva, all forgiving, the supporter of the universe, and the nourisher of gods and human beings. We bow down to you. One year during Durga Puja, the Mother went to Belur but stayed at Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house. On Maha Ashtami Day, the devotees went to pay their respects to the Mother. Holy Mother was seated on a wooden stool. Golap Ma stood near her and was fanning her. There was a long line of devotees entering through one door and going out through the other. Swami Sharadananda was seated near the entrance. A devotee offered flowers at the mother's feet and began to recite hymns to her. After a long while, Golap Ma said to him, "Hello, please get up. Enough. How many devotees are waiting in line? Don't you realize that the mother is suffering from the heat in this crowd? Why are you taking such a long time?" When he heard Golap Ma, Sharadananda remarked, "Golap Ma, he has many wishes. Will you not allow him to submit the list of his desires? Rupam Dehi, Jayam Dehi, Bharyam, Manoramam Dehi. Mother, give me beauty, give me victory, give me a beautiful bride after my own heart." The footnote says that Sharadananda was quoting a prayer from the Chandi. "Please don't pressure him to hurry." All the devotees burst into laughter. Mother also smiled a little. Without saying another word, that devotee hurriedly left the place. The master's disciples did not look upon Holy Mother as their guru's wife. By the master's grace, they knew that she was the Divine Mother in human form. One year during Durga Puja in Belur Math, Brahmananda worshipped the mother with 108 lotuses. During the master's birthday celebration one year, Holy Mother came to Belur Math. Brahmananda and the devotees received her, shouting, "Victory to the mother!" The mother first went to the shrine and then came down to the courtyard and stood on her asana facing south. Brahmananda waved a lamp with 5 wicks in front of her and asked all of the assembled monks and devotees to kneel down before the mother and to chant the salutation mantra, Sarva Mangala Mangalye, of the Divine Mother. The Swami was on his knees facing the east, tears trickling down from his eyes. Whenever the mother attended Durga Puja or the master's birthday at Belur Math, the joy of the monks and the devotees knew no bounds. In 1911, Holy Mother came to Belur Math for a festival celebrating the master's birthday. The entrance gate was decorated with flowers and leaves, and on top there was a banner which inscribed, "Welcome." The mother's carriage reached the courtyard, which was a little muddy, so Brahmananda had asked the monks to spread a red cloth for her. When Holy Mother got down from the carriage, Swami Brahmananda prostrated fully at her feet, and Swami Atmananda waved a camphor flame before her. The mother went upstairs to the shrine, bowed down to the master, and meditated for a while. She then walked over the roof and went to the western upper room of the Math building, which was reserved for her. The mother and her companions watched the master's festival through the window and listened to Kali Kirtans sung by the devotees from Andul. The group sang, "Oh mind, why are you in this world anymore? Let us go to that divine city." Swami Brahmananda danced during the kirtan and lost outer consciousness in ecstasy. Swami Sharadananda directed that he be taken to the lower southwest room of the Math building. There he sat motionless on a cot for a long time. He was offered refreshments and tobacco, but his samadhi continued unbroken. Premananda and Sharadananda were extremely concerned. Finally, Holy Mother was informed. She came downstairs, touched Brahmananda's arm, and said, "Rakal, here is prasad. Please eat." Immediately, the Swami regained his consciousness and became normal. He bowed down to the mother joyfully and ate the prasad that she had offered to him. Just watch this, I can't help but always think this is just an image of what our potential is. This sitting down in front of the shrine and worshiping the image and seeing Mother and feeling such a love that she brings tears. She brings those things to your mind, and to be so free from egoism, to be so free from distraction, that she's able to carry you all the way into an ecstasy, an ecstatic state that you can't come down from. And that the solution is when she herself comes to you and offers you a sweet, "Here, Rakal, my boy, have a sweet." And he remembers what that identity, that ego state of being Swami Brahmananda, and immediately comes down into the body with a joy, right? With the joy of the mother's presence, that she's there. And that's how we live, in the joy of the mother's presence, in that constant remembrance, looking around, everything is for us. Everything is for us. The sun shines to provide us food, to give us heat, you know. Everything is a gift of the divine. Everything that you see is beautiful. You only see that beauty because Mother has allowed you. She has loaned you her eyes to see her beauty. All the love that you have in your life is the love of God for you. That He placed love in the mother's heart for her child, and He places the love in the child's heart for its mother. It's like all love, all light is a gift, for us. And to not just walk around and just see things, just see stuff everywhere. Walk around and see Mother. That's why Vivekananda makes that statement that I repeat to myself probably every day. Stop seeking God. Stop seeking God. Start seeing her. Open your eyes and understand that you have never seen, tasted, heard, touched, or smelled anything but God, the divine. And to know that that unity is there before it's squeezed through these tiny senses of ours. And that you don't have to accept only what comes in through the front door, that there's an inner door that you can come through into that silence, into that wonder, into that presence, pregnant with this love, with this divine spirit. And to sit in that place, live in that place, that's what we're trying to initiate in ourselves. We have to find the shrine, right? That's the first thing. Follow love. Look at someone or look at something that you love very much, and then abstract it. Stop thinking of the object. Bring your attention away from what's out here and bring your attention to where is that love that you're feeling. That love marks the shrine, marks the inner shrine. And in that shrine of the body, there is the image, that divine spirit, the divine self, the observer of all things, And there is that feeling of bliss that is yours from Ananda, Satchitananda. And there is the existence, your isness. And there is the wisdom, infinite, non-referential, available spontaneously in the moment to you. And for us, we do our worship there every day, several times a day in our practice. Why? To allow the atmosphere of a temple to form in this temple, so that you don't have to go to someone else's shrine or someone else's temple or someone else's place, that you can always just for a moment immediately close your eyes and go inside and enjoy everything that any temple offers, any place of pilgrimage offers, a holy atmosphere that you carry within yourself. And that holy atmosphere is what allows us to be calm during a crisis. That holy atmosphere is what allows us to discern someone's rudeness and to not be offended by it. It's what allows us to set our egoism aside so that we don't find people annoying or demanding or unfriendly or whatnot. It's that equanimity is the presence of God within you. That's how we manage to find that equanimity. That's how we manage to live in that self-controlled state. It's not just white knuckling the handlebars, keeping everything under control. It's not like that at all. It's a joy, an inner knowing, an inner experience of God, not an imagination, but the experience of that inner life that animates you, that animates this body, that acts in this world. The very source of that is this divine love, and it's yours. And we see that's here in Swami Brahmananda dancing during the kirtan and just losing outer consciousness. Why did he lose outer consciousness? Because he wasn't getting his inspiration from the dancing or the singing or the noise. He had gone inside to his inner shrine, the shrine where he had his realization, the shrine where the divine sits. And in that presence, short-circuited mind and body, push them aside because they're not big enough to swallow that experience, and they're not necessary. They appear in the dream, but you are not the dream in the dream. You are the container of that dream, of all bodies. Holy Mother's disciple, Swami Mukteswarananda, mentioned the following incident, which probably took place in 1915 during the Master's birthday celebration at Bellarmont. When the Master's worship and food offering were over, Swami Arupananda called Brahmachari Ishwar, Swami Mukteswarananda, to serve the food to the Mother and her women companions. They sat facing east on the eastern upper veranda of the Mott building. Ishwar carried the plate of food that had been offered to the Master and placed it in front of Holy Mother. She took some food from it and began to eat, then asked Ishwar to distribute what remained to the others. After the meal, Ishwar poured water on the Mother's hands for washing. And when he was about to wash her feet with Ganges water, she stopped him and asked him to sprinkle the Ganges water on her head first. At that time, there was no filtered tap water in Bellarmont. Ishwar told her that in the monastery, everyone used the Ganges water for everything, even in the bathroom for washing. The Mother said, "My child, it is holy Ganges water. One should pay respect to it by sprinkling it on the head first and then using it for other purposes." Right? So it's that acknowledgement, that external acknowledgement or reminder to yourself. And really, this is where all the rules come from. All the rules come from this. They're all reminders of God. They're all pointers telling you not to act rashly, not to act materially, not to act rotely, but to always remember the divine reason behind everything that we do, the divine presence, the divine love, the divine worship that happens when we're in that presence. And to just be aware of that always. And so really all the rules, taking your shoes off here, not touching this with that hand, touching that only with this hand, all of these different rules that you run into at a temple, the origin of them was to make you mindful, to bring you into the moment, to remind you that you're in the presence of the deity, of the divine, and that we want to live that way. And so consequently from that, I've taken away for myself the fact that I can make up many rituals during the day in order to keep my mind on God. I've shared some of them with you at times in the past, that habit of saying a 2-minute prayer, or a 15-second prayer actually initially, every hour on the hour while I was in the office working, and to do that, to keep my mind on God, having 2 out boxes on my desk, one to the worship, one to put on the shrine of the heart, acknowledging this form goes first as my worship, and then I would move it from that outbox to the actual outbox where it went off to be processed in the rest of the office, for no other reason than just to remind myself that the mundane tasks that I do during the day are not mundane tasks. They're acts of worship, and that I should engage the heart and engage my awareness of God in everything that I do. We asked a woman came with her questions about her daughter. I think you remember that story where, the daughter was a typical teenager, very demanding and very rude to her mother, and very completely ungrateful for all that her mother did for her. And her mother was telling me with tears, "What shall I do? I'm beginning to resent my own daughter, with all of her demands all the time, and there's just no gratefulness there at all, and I feel so terrible, and it's disturbing my practice and everything else because I feel horrible that I'm resenting my daughter." And so we made a ritual out of it. She decided that she would write down everything she did for her daughter on a little piece of paper, little strips of paper during the day. And at the end of the day, she would go into her shrine and she'd put a little piece of camphor in the shrine bowl and light it. And she would offer all of those little tabs of paper to remind herself that she did nothing for her daughter that day. She did everything for the divine, and that way she could escape that sense of resentment, that sense of tit for tat that this world causes us to live in through egoism. where everything is done for a reason, and all love is given in the same meter that it's received. And so to escape that bondage, uh, you know, we put ourselves in the present. And so I encourage you, if you have trouble keeping your mind on God, then come up with ways of doing it. I remember a woman in the office that I worked in the 90s was trying to quit smoking. And every time she had the thought of smoking, she had a rubber band around her wrist. And she'd pull that rubber band way up and let go and give herself a big snap on the wrist from the rubber band to discourage thinking about smoking. And so we do that, but we do it in a different way. We do it just as a constant reminder. I had a beam. I used to sleep up on the top bunk of a bed in the monastery because I had my desk underneath it in the dorm I was sleeping in. And when I would sit up in the morning, I kept bumping my head on the beam of the ceiling. And so I decided to make that worthwhile, And so I just put a nice little scripture up there. You are not the body. You are not the mind. So every time I'd get up in the morning, I'd be careful not to hit my head, but I would always have to notice my reminder, my first thought of the day. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. And so just have fun with that too. Have fun with that too. Coming up with ways to grow, coming up with ways to stay present, to stay alert, to stay in the presence, the knowledge of the presence of God. So one should pay respect to the Ganges water by sprinkling it on the head first and then using it for other purposes. After lunch, the mother and her companions sat in Swami Shivananda's room facing the western courtyard and listened to Kali Kirtan through the window. Ishwar carried a plate of betel rolls for her. She took one without saying a single word. Observing the mother's stern look, Ishwar realized that the mother disapproved of his coming into a room where there were so many women. She was very strict with the young monks about their association with women. She listened to the kirtan for some time and then returned to Udbodhan house in the afternoon. Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing a woman being concerned about the men being with women. That's nice to see. So she understood the young brahmachari had his battles, that self-control, trying not to identify that way, not to think that way. And we in this culture, there's be aware and beware. Mixing. Well, I don't want to come across that way. I don't know if I want to. I've gotten in trouble talking that way before. But we should all take care of the condition of our minds and not put ourselves in front of things that draw us out of ourselves. Not to purposely present to ourselves things that are not helpful to our enjoyment of the presence, for our awareness of the divine. Right. So those things we should beware and be careful about them. We can't have the thought of God and that as well. One distracts us and one frees us. So consider well what you expose yourself to, what you do with your senses, where you go with your mind. That's a continual challenge. The mind is so sneaky. Our will is so sneaky, especially if we've lived a rather difficult life, or a life without any concern. There's lots of those old habits that slip in, and the mind is used to letting them in quietly, in small ways that won't set off the car alarm, as it were. And so always be very sensitive and be very honest. That's where honesty comes in, to know whether something is challenging for you or not, whether something could compromise you in your inner integrity, to make sure that this is exactly what you want to do. And you can only know what you really want to do when you're in the presence of the divine. That's the influence that keeps us true to our nature of Satchitananda, right? And so we always want to make sure that what we're doing, what we're engaged in, and what we're planning are things that will help us in that manifestation, in that expression of our divine nature, and that they're not things that are necessarily pleasant or full of pleasure. That they may be the disciplined thing. Uh, I always measured something like, if I do this, will I be happier tomorrow? Will I be in a better situation tomorrow? And so, oh yeah, no. So just to remember that, you know, measure the goodness of something. It's in the Bible. In the Old Testament, it talks about doing the good and not the pleasant. That's that distinguishing. It's like something might be pleasant right now, but how will it feel later? The good always feels better later, even if it doesn't feel great at the moment. It might be just a discipline or a not doing something in the moment. But when you've successfully done that, you'll feel better later because you've been true to yourself. You've been strong. Uh, you know. So she was very strict with the young monks about their association with women. She listened to the kirtan for some time and then returned to Udbodhan house in the afternoon. Right, and of course it's true, but it should be stated, because we don't always go both ways, that yes, men have to be careful around women, and yes, women should be careful around men, and some men should be careful around men, and some women should be careful around women. It's the nature of the mind, and so we have to be honest and straightforward and disciplined, and not think that it's silly, and not think that it's old world, and not think that it's discriminatory in a negative way, because it's not. It's respectful. Training yourself to not objectify the people that represent your desires is not being discriminating toward them. It's not seeing them as second class. It's wanting to learn to treat them as first class, to treat them as equals, to treat each other as equals, and not to let the mind objectify people into answers to desire. Just not letting that happen. And so know that that's always the motive in this. It's not a statement about women. It's not a statement about men. It's a statement about the nature of mind and the nature of desire. And this body mind we've been placed in has some tendencies that are built into it. The outgoing mind that Ramakrishna talks about so much. The mind that doesn't want to sit in meditation or sit in the presence. It wants to go out and be entertained and constantly distracted. That's its nature. And so we have to discipline that. We have to bring it inside, because ultimately that's where we find our bliss. Outside we find hunger. Inside you find bliss. Bellarmont through the eyes of Holy Mother. Although the mother spent most of her time in Calcutta and Jairambati, she kept a vigilant eye on Bellarmont and the welfare of the monks. In 1919, some women from Jairambati came to visit the mother in Calcutta. She arranged for them to visit Kalighat, Pareshnath, a Jain temple, Dakshineshwar, and Belur-Mat. When they returned from Belur-Mat, the mother inquired, "What did you see in Belur-Mat?" One lady replied, "Mother, we saw many big cows there." "We do not have cows like that in our village." The mother asked, "Did you not visit the master's shrine? Did you not see how the monks have nicely displayed the master's articles? Did you not meet the disciples of the master?" Another lady responded, "Yes, we met them, and they took care of us very well because we had come from your village. They served food with loving care." "Those monks are doing wonderful work," Holy Mother said. "One can attain virtue just by seeing them. Have you seen Dakshineshwar from the Ganges Ghat at Belur?" Another woman responded, "Yes, we saw everything, but we have never seen cows like that before." Once a devotee asked, "Mother, how can those who are poor and cannot afford to go to Varanasi and other holy places, How can they achieve the merit of such pilgrimage? She replied, why, they can achieve the very same merit by visiting Dakshineshwar or Belur Mat, provided they have genuine faith. The Lord for whom one visits Varanasi is present in Dakshineshwar and Belur. A woman disciple of the mother recalled, one day an old woman devotee told me, nowadays there is no spirituality in the Mat and other places. I reported this to the mother. Startled, she said, if there is any true religion, it can be found only here in the old Bodhan house and in Belur Mat. Right? And that's a great lesson for what our eyes see. It's that lesson that you see in the world what you have inside. And I've taken great challenge from this actually in these recent years, I guess, that we have to be careful about how much attention we pay to things outside and the way they manipulate our emotions and our moods, in the way that they're presented. We have to be careful of that. And if you're going to put your mind on those things, then be sure to counter it with good things. Put your mind on things that are positive as well. Because Ramakrishna was also very sensitive about this. One time M and Vivekananda were having a conversation about the younger generation, and they were bad-mouthing the younger generation. Oh, this younger generation today, they're going to the dogs. And the master, overheard them and came over and scolded them, and really taught them, you see outside what you see inside. If you find fault, you're emphasizing your own faults, and so be careful about that. Don't think about frivolous things. Think about divine things and see what you're looking at through this knowledge of the divine, knowing that all things are being motivated by love. And so when you talk about things, try and talk about how that thing is being motivated by love. How to stay positive, definitely. How to stay hopeful, how to stay full of charity, and not to draw unnecessary judgment or to form unnecessary opinions. Those are stumbling blocks.
No, but Swamiji, if we are finding facts, if it is a fact that somebody is always negative, it's a fact. It's not my judgment. Then what do you think?
I would say sit with that and think a little bit. How much do you know of that person, right? And why judge what they say as being one way or the other? Just hear them. If it is always negative, there's a certain amount of compassion that could be there, and for that person. And also, you don't have to sit around and listen to that person. You can get out, or you can interject positive things, or try to inspire them somehow. Respond to their negative things with positive things. Counter their negativity in front of them. I don't know, there's lots of ways, but make sure you do it out of love for them. If you put your heart first turn the heart setting to love, then say what comes to mind. Put yourself in the presence of the Divine Mother and then speak to that person as you will. And maybe you'll have something helpful to say or something positive to say. But they have to transcend that identity of negativity, right? And we won't help them do that if we reinforce our view of them as negative or being negatively. So we should look for the good and emphasize that in each other. And that will prevent us from doing the same. Or from that.
May I interject in
Please.
here?
Yes,
At group therapy here, I
Uh-huh.
was told maximum compassion, minimum interaction. And that worked.
Ah, very nice. Maximum compassion, minimum interaction.
Yeah.
That's very good. That minimum interaction will give you plenty of space to sit in your shrine, the shrine of the heart, give you time to keep that perspective of seeing the world through a mother's eyes, right? Seeing everybody as your children, if that's your practice, or everybody as images of your beloved, if that's your practice. But yeah. And that's where compassion comes from. You don't have to be compassionate in particular. You just have to be in the presence, and compassion happens. You see that oneness. You understand that oneness with each other more that way. That's a nice one. That's a good one. Maximum compassion, minimum interaction. Yeah. Yeah. Swami Vedananda is a good one for that one.
Good evening, Swami. Can I just make an observation of the beautifulest part of this whole reading today?
Please. Yes.
The master's disciples did not look upon Holy Mother as their guru's wife. By the master's grace, they knew that she was the divine mother in human form. What a fantastic gift that I started realizing what a fantastic gift that he gave his disciples.
Yeah.
In her form,
Yeah. Absolutely. You're right. That's absolutely, you're right. Absolutely. Because think of how much they had to open to that idea, because for the first many years of their interactions with the master, she was just the master's wife, and she was just serving him, and she was always out of sight, hiding behind the screen and whatnot. For them to come to the knowledge that she was the mother of the universe showed just a great openness of heart, a great willingness to transcend, and just really the love they must have felt from her to come to that understanding.
But I also just got
Yes.
a feeling that Ramakrishna knew this, and that's why she was the gift, because they were probably in incredible disarray when they lost him,
Yes.
And they had the foresight to see that she was needed. This was her capacity.
Absolutely, and uniquely. Yeah, and uniquely needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a reason that he gave the monastery a mother.
Mm-hmm.
That she nurtured, and if you look at the beginnings of Bellarmont, the women, especially American women at that time too, but the women in general were such a huge support. An enormous amount of money was donated from women. And you look at Vivekananda's time here in the West, it was the women that took care of his needs and really watched out for him. But yeah, there's definitely, because he knew all along that that's how it was going to be. He always told her, there's going to be a time where I'm gone and you're going to have to do a lot of work. Yeah. No, that is a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing that can be practiced, can be mirrored,
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, it's 7:02. So why don't we stop there? Right. And we'll pick up next time from there.
Thank you, Swamiji.